And away we go. Thursday edition of the show. SportsMap Radio. The SportsMap Radio app. And we got a lot to do for the next 3 hours, like we do every night. We're keeping tabs on Thursday night football. Well, what do you know? We have a game. Texans making it interesting against the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles just getting a touchdown, I think, in the last second. 20. Okay, A.J. Brown from Jalen Hurts. So extra point good, 21-14. Keep in mind, this was, I believe, a 14 or a 14.5 point spread pregame with the Eagles giving that 14 or 14.5. If you're looking for value, I know we don't usually do the live betting till the third segment of the hour, but if you're looking for value right now, it's all in the Texans. Plus 800 on the live money line right now for a team that's at home, down a touchdown. That's all I'm going to say. Not going to tell you to go bet it because they're the Texans and these are the Eagles, but that's a lot of points. You know what I'm saying? It's me, a Mario. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you. Brian McDonald. Brian McDonald is our producer, engineer on the show tonight, who is taking glee in the fact that the Astros lead the Phillies 2-1 in the tight. Finally, we've got one of these games in this World Series because it's been, a lot of craziness in these games. And then the no-hitter last night, and now this time you got a game that's actually close, and this is like a real baseball game in the World Series. Oh, God. It's not stressful. You're not out there playing. Stressful. Do you got like $1,000 on the game? Then it's not stressful. Enjoy it. Kyrie Irving's in the news again. Let's talk about it on the other side. I'm Jason Page. It's the Cash In on SportsMap Radio. You give me a 5 again? The hell is wrong with you people? I don't need a friggin' 5. Once you've missed the 20, there's no getting it back. Giving me a 5 doesn't give back the 20. The 10 is all I need. Need your voice in my head with 5 seconds left. You know how much shit is swimming in my head as it is? Exactly. I haven't even packed yet. I'm getting ready to go to Phoenix tomorrow. Bowling tournament, man. 3 days. I'm only bowling Saturday and Sunday, though. It's a question of if my knee is going to hold up. My left knee is just really bad right now. All the extra weight I'm carrying around isn't helping. You don't have the video stream on, but I'm paying homage to Bill Belichick tonight. I'm wearing a hoodie. Lucas Giolito was really good last night. Really. So here in Palm Springs, there's a dog park that I go to. And every morning, well, not every morning, his uncle lives here half of the year. There's a reason I hate big spreads, and you're seeing it tonight. You saw it on Sunday night in the Buffalo Green Bay game. This is why you just don't touch these games. Look, the Eagles may very well cover the 14 or 14 and a half, whatever it was. It's just my blood pressure. I wouldn't make it through this game if I had money on either side of this bet right now. It just wouldn't be fun. It just wouldn't be anything fun about it. Because there's too many ways to lose when there's a big spread. Especially if you take the favorite. There's too many ways to lose. You're watching Houston move the football and get first downs. They're supposed to get destroyed tonight. Yes. It's not supposed to be this close. But yes, no Brandon Cooks. Yeah, well, he knows where all the bodies. Yeah. I mean, you got to remember, Brandon Cooks knows where all the bodies are buried. I'm done covering for these guys. Ugh. Let me just say, it's just why I wouldn't touch it. But it's also the reason that if you've listened to this show throughout the first 8 weeks of the NFL season, I've told you that while they're 8-0 and it's a great start, I've never thought about this Eagles team as inevitable. I would, if you put them on a neutral field right now, if you put them on a neutral field right now, if you put them on their own field against Kansas City or Buffalo, they're an underdog. They should be. They're not as good as either of those two teams. I don't care what the records say. Observational fact tells you Kansas City, Buffalo, better than Philadelphia. Plain and simple. So I can't get crazy about, and it's the reason why when I sell that big 14-plus point spread, I'm not touching that. No way. There's a letdown factor here. I mean, there's so many reasons that this thing could go wrong if you're on the Philadelphia side of the bet tonight. Speaking of betting, Scott Seidenberg will join us coming up in about 25 minutes. Pregame.com does a great job on the sports betting stuff with RJ Bell and company over there. All right, I got to get into the Kyrie stuff because literally like 2 hours before we came to air tonight, the Nets announced that Kyrie Irving had been suspended for at least 5 games. They say at least because if he don't apologize, they're just going to let him rot. That's what they're going to do. They're going to just let him sit there. I don't think they're going to put him back out on the court without an apology. The Nets knew. See, there's so many angles and aspects to this whole Kyrie Irving thing that the more I think about it, the more it frustrates me. And sadly, the anti-Semitism part is sort of at the back of the list because we've talked about it so much, and that part is infuriating. It's sickening because he doesn't understand the weight of his words and the weight of his influence and the fact that he doesn't just represent himself. All I keep hearing him say is I, me, my family, me. I know I'm not an anti-Semite, or I know I'm not anti-Semitic, or all of this stuff about me, I. You represent an organization in the borough of Brooklyn. I know we have people that listen from all over the country, and not everybody travels and gets to see certain places. If you don't know anything about Brooklyn, let me tell you something about it. It's very Jewish. I've lived there twice. For long stretches of time. In fact, the first time I lived there in a highly Jewish community, heavily populated by Hasidic Jews. So I've lived amongst Jewish people. So if anybody's qualified to talk about Brooklyn and that borough and the Jewish community within it, it's me. And if Kyrie Irving doesn't understand the weight of his words, now I got to be honest, I was thinking about this today. As I was sitting at Starbucks, wolfing down a drink. If this story had taken place and Kyrie Irving was playing in Utah or Oklahoma City or Denver or Portland, I wonder if it would have gone the way it's gone, if it would have blown up the way it's blown up. And I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if it really matters, but it was just something that came to mind today as I was thinking about it. If he was in Minnesota, is it the market that he's playing in that even makes the decision to populate his Twitter feed with something like this book / movie that trots out all these anti-Semitic tropes? If he were playing in another market other than New York, I wonder if it would carry the same weight. I have no idea, but something that hit me as I thought about it today. The Nets knew exactly what they were getting with Kyrie Irving. So I have zero sympathy for the Brooklyn organization, Joe Tsai and these guys who thought, hey, it's like fantasy basketball. We could just put a bunch of guys together. And, throw a head coach in there, the former NBA player, and they'll win. Yay. And then realizing, you mean there needs to be chemistry? Oh, you mean, we should actually do a little bit of a background check on some of these guys before we bring them into our organization? James Harden, Kyrie Irving. I mean, knowing what you know now about Kyrie Irving, James Harden, and Kevin Durant, is it any wonder this thing blew up spectacularly the way it did? But back to Kyrie. The Nets have suspended him, but the NBA has not. And this is another aspect of this story that just drives me absolutely nuts. What is Adam Silver waiting for? What planet does Adam Silver live in that he thinks, you know what, I'll just let the team handle this? It's not like Ime Udoka having a inappropriate relationship with somebody that works in the Celtics organization and this sort of thing, where I can understand the NBA saying hands off in that situation. But when it comes to this, just as I was saying, Kyrie Irving isn't just representing himself. He's representing an entire organization rooted in the city and rooted in the borough of Brooklyn. So it's not just about him. And that's one of the things he fails to understand in this whole story. And then on top of that, he doesn't just represent the Brooklyn Nets. He represents the National Basketball Association, which is beamed all over the world. This isn't just a story in the U.S., it's a story all over the world when it comes to sports. You got a former NBA champion who puts this stuff in his social media and then goes out there and tries to defend it the way he did on Saturday night. And then today, when once again the Nets basically said, we're going to hand you to the media, go do the right thing, basically saying, just go and apologize. And he could not do it. His pride, his ego getting in the way. And by the way, before anybody tries to compare this to Colin Kaepernick, understand something. These two things could not be less alike. They are not alike in the least bit. What Colin Kaepernick was standing up for versus what Kyrie Irving is standing up for. Because I know that's going to be the next parallel that certain people decide to trot out. Well, why should we feel bad for Colin Kaepernick if we don't feel bad for Kyrie Irving? No, Colin Kaepernick was standing up for something and trying to create change in a part of this country that a lot of people have been trying to create change for. What Kyrie Irving did was bring more animus towards an already marginalized group in our society. And coming from somebody that comes from a marginalized group of people in America, that's what makes it even all the more appalling. But the Nets have suspended him and the NBA has not. And once again, Adam Silver gets taken off the hook. Remember, Robert Sarver, who should have been forced to sell his team, took Adam Silver off the hook. How did he do it? He said, you know what, I'll sell the team. He saw the writing on the wall, knew that it wasn't tenable. He sold the team. But the NBA could have forced him to sell the team. The precedent was there with what took place with Donald Sterling, and he didn't do it. Now the Nets have to take Adam Silver off the hook with their 5-game suspension and could be longer. What is Adam Silver doing right now at the NBA offices in New York or Secaucus or wherever the hell he is? What is he doing? Lead on these issues. You led when it came to the issue revolving around Donald Sterling. You were forceful. You were decisive. And now you're the person creeping through the intersection really, really slow. And you know what happens when people creep through intersections really, really slow and aren't decisive? Accidents happen. Car wrecks happen. And that's what you have right now. You have a car wreck. The NBA at the top right now is handling this. It's a car wreck. And even the Brooklyn Nets, for all that they're trying to do, if the moment this tweet had hit the internet and they saw the outrage, they could have suspended him then and started moving on from this story. And I say this all the time. I don't know who these teams hire to handle PR or communications or crisis management. These teams have zillions of dollars. They're worth a ton of money. You can't get better people to tell you how to handle this situation with Kyrie Irving? We all knew a week ago the guy should have been suspended. And instead, they've dragged it out and putt. And now what do you got? You've had a week of negative press. You fired or your head coach walked out, whatever it is. And now you're about to get a whole bunch of more bad press when you make the mistake of hiring Ime Udoka. Oh, my God. What a clown show the Nets are. What a clown show the NBA looks like. Oh, and congratulations. Way to ruin the start of your season. 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. Tweet at the show at the back page. Hit me up on Twitter at the back page. What would you do if you were the Nets organization when it comes to Kyrie Irving? What would you do if you're the NBA? I want to hear from you. 800-224-2004 on Twitter at the back page. We'll come back, give you an update on the live betting in the Thursday night football game. It got a little closer a few minutes ago. We'll tell you what's going on in the baseball as well with the World Series in Game 5. I'm Jason Page, and this is The Cash-In on SportsMap Radio. You think? Let's go, Phillies. Gotta get this thing done in 6. Okay. Okay. Does he sound sane? Okay. Okay. I was just saying to John. Oh boy, I called him John Belmer. Wow, no, I called you John Belmer. I'm sorry. This is what happens, though. This is what happens when I've got a rotation of guys engineering and producing this show for me. It's going to happen. Producer Brian McDonald and I were talking during the break. At least you don't call me Anthony Pepe. Yeah, great. So we were just talking during the break about Lovie Smith's beard game. I mean, that is on point. That is a Hall of Fame beard, if I've ever seen one myself. We're going to be joined by Scott Seidenberg coming up in 11 minutes. Does a great job on all things sports betting for pregame.com. Is South Carolina one of those states that has legalized sports betting? I only ask because Steven is calling the show from South Carolina tonight. The Cash In with Jason Page on SportsMap Radio. What's going on, Steven? Yeah, I know her. Thank you, Steven. Appreciate the call in South Carolina. You know what your call illustrates? And this is, I hate this. I hate the fact that your call illustrates this because it takes me back to a place that I don't want to go. When I was just about to get out of sports radio in 2015, 2016, I shouldn't say get out. I got let go from I had a national show with NBC Sports. And they let me go at the end of my contract in 2016. But I was at a point in that time in 2016 where I had to talk about these stories where sports and politics and geopolitics and social issues were all intersecting. And I go through this all the time. And I know that there's a certain segment of the sports fan out there that doesn't want these issues coming up in their sports talk. I guarantee you, even the people that distribute my show don't want me talking about this stuff. They won't tell me they don't want me talking about it because they're giving me the freedom to discuss things that I want to discuss because it's my show and I own it. But I guarantee they cringe every time I talk about this stuff. I put out a tweet, I don't know, a month ago about Troy Aikman making some chauvinistic, sexist remark on Monday Night Football. And that's what it was. And I had to deal with 4 days of backlash on social media, people crank calling the show, the people distributing my show going, cringing because they're like, oh God, are we going to lose sponsors? Are we going to lose affiliates? And I don't know what to do about it anymore. I'm being brutally honest with you guys as an audience. Whether you're listening in Auburn, Maine or Auburn, California, and yes, there are Auburns in both. Had a conversation with somebody about that today. I don't know how to handle this anymore. I know how I would like to handle it, but to me, it would be selfish if I did that, and I would be chasing away potentially half of my audience who might disagree with what I say. But at the same time, how do you ignore the fact that Kyrie Irving is being suspended for 5 games for promoting a book on his Twitter feed? And yeah, Kyrie, I'll say it, you're promoting it. When you're promoting something on your Twitter feed that's a book that trots out these anti-Semitic tropes about Jewish people. The hell am I supposed to do? Ignore it? Pretend I live in a bubble of just sports and stats and spreads and who wins and who loses and fantasy football, and that's all great? That's what I want the show to be. But how do I don't know. I feel like I have a responsibility with the platform I have and with my voice to discuss these things. But at the same time, I'm torn because I know there's a certain segment of my audience that does not want to hear it. So I feel kind of trapped in that situation. I appreciate the call, Stephen, because these things all leak into sports, and that's what you're alluding to. Nikki Haley is connected to Clemson. Clemson has a prominent football program. Herschel Walker, former NFL player, running for the Senate. All these things. Tommy Tuberville, whatever. I don't know. I don't know what to do. Like I said, part of the problem is this, and I don't say this to disrespect other sports hosts on this network or any other network, but it's going to come across that way. I will already acknowledge what I'm about to say is going to come across that way. There's a lot of people hosting in sports radio, and I don't care if you're talking about SportsMap Radio, CBS Sports Radio, Fox Sports Radio, ESPN, any of them. There's a lot of people that tune this stuff out and don't really understand the importance or significance of it. And I come from a background where I worked in news long before I ever worked in sports. I've worked in politics. Interestingly enough, I worked for a Republican politician, for those who think I'm some crazy lefty. So I have a different background and mindset around these issues because I follow them closely and have worked inside of them. So it's hard for me to just simply pretend it doesn't exist and ignore it and talk about sports. That's what I'm saying. We are going to talk about sports with Scott Seidenberg from pregame.com next on the Cash In at SportsMap Radio. Oh, I almost fell asleep. I almost didn't make it. Oh, base hit. Wow. Jokic? I don't know if it's going to help for Jokic. Yeah. Yeah, there's something to be said for that. All right, I got to get Seidenberg on. Uh-oh. It says FaceTime unavailable. What's that about?
Hello.
Yo.
Hey, hang on. Making sure that the settings are good here. You hear me okay?
I hear you fine. We proceed on this Thursday edition of the show. Final show of the week for me. I am off tomorrow, unfortunately. I hate being off, but I had these commitments made before we launched the show on September 5th, and if I make commitments, I got to stick to them. So, big bowling tournament in Phoenix this weekend. Looking forward to seeing people down there. Hopefully, I don't embarrass myself. This is actually going to be the last tournament I bowl in probably until next summer, because I'm going to be looking at getting some surgery done. Got to get my knees fixed. My knees are a mess. My right rotator cuff is all screwed up. Not that that impacts me that much bowling, believe it or not. At any rate, updating you on the Thursday night football game. Eagles touchdown, 2-point conversion, 29-17 Philadelphia. 9:08 to go in the fourth quarter there. If you're looking at the live money line, the value is in Houston at plus 1,500. I don't know if you would want to go and take them, but plus 1,500 is the number there. Plus 12.5 on Houston if you're looking at. See, and I love Houston plus 12.5 live. Definitely love them there. And how do you not take the over? At 29-17, 52.5? Garbage touchdown, I would take the over there. What would Scott Seidenberg do? It's like, what would Jesus do? Instead, it's what would Scott Seidenberg do? Scott Seidenberg, pregame.com, does a great job with RJ Bell and his team over there. Longtime friend of mine and friend of the program. What would you do, Scott?
As far as taking the points on the live line?
Yeah, what would you do on the live line?
I'm not betting on Davis Mills and the Texans. 17 is already beyond what I expected from them in this game. Their team total was 15, so they've already exceeded that. Largely due to Dameon Pierce.
But teams play the scoreboard. You know, would it shock you if they got another touchdown here?
No, I mean, they're moving the ball well. The Eagles haven't really played well defensively, but this is the time where the Eagles front seven would pin their ears back and get after the quarterback. That's really been the Philly way throughout this winning streak. It's build up a huge halftime lead and then get after the quarterback in the second half. A little different tonight is for the first time all season, they do not cover a first half spread.
Yeah, I mean, that is pretty amazing. I was actually looking at that on my Twitter feed. Somebody else pointed that out tonight. 52.5. So you don't think there's another touchdown coming in this game, so you wouldn't touch it?
Yeah, I have
I'm putting you on the spot. Come on, man.
I would say that there will be another touchdown scored. I'm not going to say by who, though.
Okay, so you would take the 52. You'd go over 52.5.
Sure. What are we at right now? We're at
46. We're at 29-17. We're at 46.
Here's the thing, though. This is why 52.5 is such a great line. Because what if there's a touchdown scored, but the extra point is not made or the 2-point conversion is not made?
Yeah, but I don't think they're going for 2 in that spot. There's no value in Houston going for 2 in that spot.
Sure, where they're down 12 now.
So there would be no value. You're going to get the extra point. To me, it's
would the Eagles go for it again to go up a clean 21? I mean, why did they? Well, no, they would go up 20 with the 8. Yeah, I don't know.
And you got Texans are moving the ball. They're on the Philly side of the field. Yeah. I gotta tell you, Scott. I could do the live betting stuff all day, man. I am more and more finding. And we do at least one live betting game every night on the show here, where we just hone in on one game. And to me, that's where the value is. I keep seeing it, especially in the NBA. And I don't know if it's just because it's early in the season, but it just feels like the live betting in the NBA, especially on totals, has been pretty easy. And it just seems to me like these sports books cannot keep up with the live betting to the degree that they need to. And I think if you're a savvy sports bettor and you're watching these live betting lines, I just think there's a lot of money to be made.
Well, the issue is a lot of these sports books go off, they're basing it off of the pregame number, and then it's all an algorithm, right? So they're just spitting out what the projected total should be based on what had happened. They're not handicapping, game flow or who's hot or who's not. And so if you think, there's definitely ways to take advantage of live bettings when the market is just spitting out a number based on what they project it to be, and you have a read on how the game script is playing out, then there's definitely ways to take advantage of live betting. I firmly believe that.
Do you think, as somebody who follows it much more closely than I do, is there going to be a change there somewhere? Is there a way that the sports books or whoever is, however these things get set, that there's a way they can game it, so to speak, to give them a better advantage? Because it doesn't feel like, whereas in sports betting, a lot of times the house is able to, get it to their advantage. I don't know if they can do it with live betting. Is there a way they can?
What they're doing is, so certain books, some books don't even offer live lines. But what you're seeing from certain books, like there's one book here in Vegas that recently just started taking live action, and they're hanging minus 112 both ways. So what they're doing is they're juicing it by 2 cents on each side. The hold becomes greater for the book because they're not getting double-sided action. So they're making up the money by inflating the price, if that makes sense. I mean, we can get into a whole conversation about theoretical hold and how the books make their money off VIG, and that's a whole PowerPoint presentation for a different day. But that's how books are trying to combat live action.
Yeah, because it just seems to me like right now, I have to imagine that when it comes to the savvy sports bettor, the books have to be losing money on live betting, it would feel like.
The numbers, they're not even in comparison.
You're saying not in comparison compared to what they're making on the typical bank. Yeah, that makes sense to me. There's probably a lot of people that are still slow to catch up to the live sports betting stuff, which has actually been around a long time, and certainly in the offshore books as well. Scott Seidenberg is our guest from pregame.com. He does a great job on all things sports betting, so he's always somebody I love to sort of talk to about the different games of the week. 3 different lines this week of double digits. We obviously talked about the one with the Philadelphia Eagles and the Houston Texans. These games scare me. These double-digit lines, I'm very squeamish around them. I bucked the trend last week. I took Buffalo minus the points. Didn't work out because of the garbage touchdown in the fourth quarter and all the back and forth between the Packers and the Bills in that game. How do you feel, and what are you looking at when you look at some of these double-digit lines?
Well, the Bills usually beat up on bad teams, right? I mean, that's what they do. Look at what they did to the Steelers. The double-digit line didn't work out well with the Packers. With the Jets in a divisional game, it's interesting because they're going to have to play them a second time. How much do they show them the first time versus, what they're going to be playing them a second time? The thing about this game is that I just think the Jets are bad. And after losing Breece Hall, the Jets now have to put more focus on or really more of the game falls on Zach Wilson's shoulders, and he can't handle it. We saw the 2 bad interceptions last week against the Patriots, and with the Bills team that got better at the trade deadline, bringing in Naeem Hines, Tre'Davious White's coming back. They're top in the NFL in DVOA in offense. They're number 2 in defense. This is going to be quite ugly for the Jets. I like the Bills to cover, and I think it's actually
Wednesday
an under
edition
game.
of the
I wouldn't
show.
be surprised if the Jets barely score anything.
The other double-digit line that we talked about a little bit last night on this show, Tennessee, and to me, now if there's one double-digit line I do like this week, it's Tennessee getting the 12.5. As good as I think Kansas City is, Tennessee's on the upswing. They've won 5 in a row. I know they're not at the same level as the Chiefs, but again, even if it's a 14 or 17 point game late, you got the backdoor cover possibilities. I think Tennessee stays within the line. How do you feel?
So monitor the quarterback situation. Is it going to be Malik Willis? Is Ryan Tannehill playing this week? Because obviously that matters. But the reason that this line is so high is because it's the Chiefs off a bye. And all of Andy Reid's success after a bye is completely baked into this point spread. Because the book knows what the story is.
Rolling
with
along
Andy Reid
on
off
this
the bye.
Wednesday edition of the show.
17-2.
SportsMap Radio, the SportsMap Radio app.
After a bye. He's 27
on a night where the Houston Astros have no-hit the Philadelphia Phillies in the World Series. Game 4, 5-0 the final. It'll be Verlander versus Syndergaard in Game 5 tomorrow
night. It's just a bad recipe going up against Andy Reid teams after
Lucas
a bye.
Giolito,
But that
White
is
Sox
why
starting
this line
pitcher,
is so
joins us
high
on the cash-in
the book
on
knows the
SportsMap
story.
Radio.
They know
All
the
right,
trend.
Jay,
They
you
know
just
what
watched
everybody's
it.
talking about. They're going to make you pay a
who
premium.
could have seen that coming after what we saw from the Phillies offense last night against Lance McCullers?
SportsMap Radio.
But this is 2 no-hitters that Christian Javier has started this year. 2 combined no-hitters. One against the Yankees. One of the more interesting games
I was
of the week.
watching that
Seahawks and Cardinals.
And then the one tonight.
I mean, you've seen enough of Christian Javier, MVP, one of the best pitchers in baseball. How do you feel, by the way, about him? Putting a bet on him right now as an MVP
the highlights of it.
Wouldn't do it on MVP. I would do it on comeback player.
Really well.
He's the second favorite right now, and do I think he should even be nominated for that? No. What is he coming back from? Being a backup quarterback? I think a guy like Saquon Barkley coming back from injury, or a player like that deserves the award more than Geno Smith. But there's no denying how great this guy is playing, and when you look at them lined up as an underdog, it's such an interesting, this is such a sketchy line because the Cardinals are favored despite being horrific at home. And literally they're 1-11 their last 12 home games. It's something stupid like that. And Geno Smith and Pete Carroll together are 8-3 ATS as underdogs. Geno Smith in his career 17-10-2 as an underdog against the spread. Cliff Kingsbury 5-11 against the spread as a home favorite with this Cardinals team. Everything points to the Seahawks, but sometimes when it's so easy and everyone's on the same side and you don't see the line moving, that's a red flag that should tell you the Cardinals might actually be the right side of this game.
Talking with Scott Seidenberg, pregame.com, joining us here on the Cash-In, SportsMap Radio and the SportsMap Radio app. By the way, Astros on top of the Phillies 2-1, bottom of the 7th, that game still going on in Philadelphia, Game 5 of that series. And again, with what we saw last night in the no-hitter, I'm done trying to figure out what the hell's going on in that series. Has there been anything in terms of betting on the World Series that you've liked?
Yeah, I mean, I had the Astros in the first 5 tonight. Reason being, I was backing a bounce back from Verlander and a hangover from the Phillies after the no-hitter last night. Now, Kyle Schwarber, which was amazing, his quote last night when they asked him about the no-hitter.
I saw this.
He said, "I don't give a bleep," and then he off the game with a home run. It's amazing. It's just, you can't write a script like that. But Verlander did lock it down, and here's what you have to understand about the Phillies. Everyone talks about how hot they've been in the postseason, how great their offense has been, and no one gets that more than me. Listen, I've been on the Phillies so much this postseason; it's amazing. But over the past several games, their entire offense has come from the home run. Even counting tonight's run that they scored, which came on the Kyle Schwarber home run, that's 1 run in this game. That's 0 runs last game. And that's all 7 runs the game before came on 5 home runs. We're talking about 8 runs over the last 3 games combined came on 6 pitches. They're not loading the bases. They're not getting hit after hit after hit. It's 6 mistake pitches by the Astros pitching staff that has resulted in all of the Phillies runs over the last 3 games. Just don't know how sustainable that is. I like Houston to win this game. It's 2-1 now. They win this. Yes, Zach Wheeler will go in Game 6 against Framber Valdez, but the Astros will win this series in 6 games.
Oh, our producer engineer Brian McDonald is probably smiling ear to ear hearing that right now. See, I work with a bunch of people that are based in Houston, so I got no chance. I just got
the pitching staff has been historic. The pitching performance in this postseason from Houston has literally been historic. Forget about the no-hitter, but even before the no-hitter. Literally, the amount of innings that the Houston bullpen has thrown without allowing a run, and even the runs that they did allow maybe came on a solo home run or whatever. It's unbelievable, and that's like I said. The Phillies have scored 8 runs in 3 games, but it's really on 6 pitches. That's it. So I think this is an Astros in 6.
Scott Seidenberg, always good to talk to you, my friend. Be well. We'll get together soon, hopefully.
Absolutely. Take care. Good luck in that bowling tournament.
Thank you. Scott Seidenberg joining us on the show. We'll wrap up this hour of the cash-in next. I just burped into a live mic. Classy. Oh, there's a Houston touchdown coming. I could feel it. Oh, third and 19 here. Oh, pick! He got picked. Interception, but a flag down. Flag on Houston. Eagles take over. Yeah, there goes that. Wow, the Warriors lost again tonight in Orlando. And Orlando's bad. Yeesh. I don't know. I don't know what to do with it. I'm not sure. Yeah, no. Yeah. Yeah. Boy, Paulo Banchero is pretty good. Banchero? Kid's pretty good. 22, 8, and 3 tonight. Indeed. Well, it looks like 29-17 is going to be the final, barring something unforeseen, as Davis Mills throws an interception down near the goal line. Have you tried out Jock MKT yet? They offer live daily markets for sports, let you buy and sell shares of athletes in real time with other users, all for real money, and each share is a guaranteed payout at the end of the night. Bid on shares before the games in our IPO phase. Trade shares live while the games are happening. All shares have a guaranteed payout at the end of the night. They're currently live in 36 states with more to come. Head over to the Jock MKT app or jockmkt.com. Deposit with the code CASHIN. The promo code CASHIN. Receive a 100% deposit match up to $100. Your first market will also be risk-free with losses refunded up to $100. Again, the NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, PGA, and NASCAR. It's all at jockmkt.com or the Jock MKT app. Use my promo code CASHIN, 100% deposit match bonus. We're back with another hour of the Cash In with me, Jason Page, here on SportsMap Radio. Stay with us. Houston's got timeouts. Ba-ba-dum.
Wow. Going for it?
Open YouTube TV. Another hour starts right now on SportsMap Radio, the SportsMap Radio app. Thanks to Scott Seidenberg for joining us in the first hour. Astros lead the Phillies 2-1, top of 8, runners at first and third, nobody out for the Astros with Yordan Alvarez at the plate. Oh, boy. Oh, stop it. Alvarez 0 for 3 in the game. He's done nothing since that Seattle series, by the way. Yeah, that's true. It's true. He did. Yep, he did go 0 for in the 18-inning game. A lot of people went 0 for in the 18-inning game, though. That was the problem with the 18-inning game. That's why you had an 18-inning game. A lot of batting averages would have been taking a beating if that was the regular season. So anyway, we're keeping tabs on the Astros and the Phillies right now. David Robertson on the mound for the Phillies as they try to stay close in this game, give themselves a chance with only 6 offensive outs remaining for them in this game. The Thursday night football game has come to a conclusion with the Eagles winning at 29-17. Has it gone final? Maybe it hasn't. I thought it did. All right, it is final. All right, because my FanDuel score ticker was a little behind. So 29-17. Only 2 games in the NBA tonight, and they're both done. So we got no live NBA betting to do. Interestingly, though, and I know it's early in the season, but Orlando beat Golden State tonight. Orlando's now 2-7 on the year. And the Warriors are only 1 game worse than that. They're 3-6, and they have yet to win a game away from Chase Center. So, look, I don't think you push the panic button on Golden State yet, but they are 3-6 out of the gate. 130-129, Orlando beats Golden State tonight. And that means the Warriors just aren't playing any defense. I don't know if anybody's playing defense in the NBA right now. We'll come back, let you know what's going on in the World Series. A lot more to do in this hour of the Cash In. It's SportsMap Radio. What do you do? Sacrifice fly? Ground out? What? Got it. Gotcha. Well, 3-1 might as well be 6-1 with this bullpen. Those are the old, 70s, 80s Mike Schmidt unis. Yeah. Pete Rose wore the Phillies jersey. It's awesome. It's an odd choice for the World Series, though. Oh, really? Yeah, no kidding. "12 minutes past the hour. SportsMap Radio and the SportsMap Radio app. A reminder, programming note, I am off tomorrow. Alternate programming will air in my place. We're going to just put Brian McDonald in front of a microphone and have him bang cymbals together like a monkey. Psst, 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 psst. I didn't call you a button monkey. I was just saying that's a way that we can entertain the audience, is just putting you in front of a microphone. We'll even put you in front of a camera and just have you bang cymbals together. If they were watching, it'd be pretty entertaining. Kyle Tucker at the plate for the Astros. They've scratched a run across here in the top of the eighth on a Yordan Alvarez ground out. They lead the Phillies 3-1 now as we play in the top of the eighth. Game 5 of the World Series, always a pivotal game. And the Astros right now, 6 defensive outs away from a 3-2 series lead and being 1 win away from a World Series. How's that, Brian McDonald? Does that make you feel better? That soothe your... I'm not coming around to anything. I'm just saying what I got to say. I'm not admitting anything. They ain't over until they've won 4 games. I'm not accepting anything. If you missed it, yes, absolutely. If you missed it, top story of the day in sports, Kyrie Irving suspended 5 games at least by the Brooklyn Nets, who have basically said enough's enough with this. You don't want to apologize. We're not putting you back out on the court. And I think that's kind of the way this goes at this point. I think Kyrie's going to have to sit until he says he's sorry. But here's the problem. Now if he says he's sorry, let's say it's a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, is it even sincere? I mean, what's the point of an apology at this point from Kyrie if it's not even sincere? You're just forcing him to say something he doesn't want to say. If he hasn't said he's sorry by now, knowing the consequences and knowing the impact, his words, his actions, his social media presence, whatever, if he doesn't know it by now, is a really phony apology, a true saying, I'm sorry. It's like that episode of Seinfeld. Anybody watch Seinfeld? I'm a nut for Seinfeld. The episode where James Spader is playing the character who is a recovering alcoholic. Stretch. You saw it, Dom McDonald. See, you just earned huge point. Yeah, you might have just taken the lead on John Belmer in the race to be the full-time. You might have just taken the lead in the race to be Jason Page, the cash-in, full-time Monday through Friday engineer-producer. You might have just taken the lead by knowing exactly what episode I was referencing. Oh, my God. It's great. So basically what happens is James Spader's going through the 12-step program, and he goes to George to apologize for saying something to him, and George says, well, that wasn't you didn't say I'm sorry. You didn't exactly apologize. And then James Spader gets upset and says, well, no, I'm not going to apologize. You stretched the neck hole of my sweater with your bulbous head. And that's kind of where we are right now, as silly as it sounds, with this Kyrie Irving situation as it relates to an apology. If you get an apology from him now, who cares? It's tainted. It doesn't mean anything. And I know people are going to say, well, then he can't win. You're damn right he can't win. He can't win. Because he's made it clear he's not going to apologize willingly. So to me, I would just suspend him or release him or do whatever you're going to do if you're the Nets. If you want to just say, hey, we're going to suspend you without pay. The problem is they can only suspend him without pay for a certain amount of time before the NBA Players Association is going to step in. And by the way, I feel bad for whatever clown at the Players Association has to go into a room and be like, yeah, we're defending Kyrie and we think he should still get paid despite the fact that he's behaving this way. Good luck with that. But Kyrie Irving is suspended now for 5 games. And the Nets say basically he's not worthy of being on the court with the way he's conducting himself. Inning over, by the way, in Philadelphia. Astros lead the Phillies 3-1 as they go to the bottom of the 8th. I'll tell you, the Phillies got out of that with limited damage. All right. Trey Mancini will have to start. Well, I mean, it's one spot in the order. And they got Framber Valdez pitching, who's been so good. I mean, he's really good, especially when he's wiping substances off of himself as he walks off the mound. Just saying. Hashtag just saying, I saw the video of him walking off the mound before he got checked by the umpire where he's wiping footage off. Yeah. Who wipes themselves in that spot? It's obviously something nefarious going on. This is the Astros. This is what they do. Cheaters. 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 The Phillies, by the way, are plus 650 on the money line if you're looking for some value right now and want to take a flyer on them, down 3-1. Is there any magic left in those Phillies bats against this Astros bullpen that has just been locked down throughout this entire postseason? Montero on for the Astros, Nick Castellanos to lead it off. You like how I said that? Nick Castellanos leading it off. Very true. So Castellanos will be up to lead things off in the bottom of the 8th with the Astros leading 3-1. Again, plus 650 on the money line for the Phillies if you want to take a shot on them right now. 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. Hit me up on Twitter at the back page. We will keep our eye on postgame. We always give you postgame audio from the Thursday night football game. Nothing will change in that regard. We will certainly have some of that coming up for you. as we go throughout the rest of the show. After the Eagles improved to 9-0 with a 29-17 win tonight over the Houston Texans, who I have to say put up a hell of a fight. Look, they're not going anywhere. The only thing they're competing for right now is, who gets one of these great 3 quarterbacks at the top of the NFL draft next year. But, Lovie Smith's team is playing hard. You want to lose the game. This is true. There might be things living in that beard, by the way. I mean, that beard, that thing is luscious. It could definitely, yep. Yeah, there could definitely be something living in that beard of the beard of Zeus, the beard of Lovie Smith. We'll have to check that out during the post game. Maybe we'll hear a few words from him. Also, the Eagles, as I said, undefeated. There is 0 shot this team goes undefeated during the regular season. I will give you the odds right now. 0. There is no chance this team goes undefeated. I think they're good. I think they're really good. But when I match them up against other teams that have been undefeated this point of the season, I don't think they're that good. I just don't. If I had to say, with all the divisional games they have left, looking at what Minnesota has remaining in their division, I'd say it's probably still really good. I mean, look, there's only one game between now and the end of the year where they have these like projected odds that they do, the percentages of a team winning or losing. I forget what it's called, like the RFP or something like that ESPN has. They're only an underdog in one game the rest of the year. Now, what does that necessarily mean? I mean, they were a 14-point favorite tonight. It was 24-17, late third quarter. Houston was able to hang around. And again, that might just be the Eagles playing down to their opponent. A little bit of a letdown factor, going into Houston, even if it is a primetime game on Thursday night, short week, all those things. But there's only one game the rest of the year, and that's at Dallas, where they're projected as an underdog. So the odds are they're going to be the top seed. All roads are going to have to go through Philadelphia. But again, when we're talking about any of these teams potentially that are going to make the postseason, when you look at the NFL this year in the NFC, would it shock me if anybody who made the playoffs in the NFC, would it shock me if any of those teams were able to beat the Eagles? No, not at all. I'm scared to death to bet on the Eagles. I'm just not a believer. And it's not, I don't have any bias towards the organization. I love the fact that Jalen Hurts is stepping up and becoming this, this player that Eagles fans were really hoping he could be. I think it's great. But if you just look at the overall roster and you compare him to some other teams, and you look at also, and I hate to say this, I don't want to poo-poo what the Eagles have done, through 9 games this year. But who have they really beaten that wows you? Where's the big time wins in the Eagles' schedule so far this year where you go, wow, that really blew me away? I mean, let's go through it. They won at the Lions. They beat the Vikings, which if you want to point at one, it's week 2 of the season. But yes, week 2 in Philadelphia, and the Vikings were, the Vikings have one loss this year, and it's that game. And again, I'm not impressed with the Vikings either. But the Commanders, the Jaguars, at the Cardinals, who have been dreadful at home. The Cowboys is obviously a good win, but again, Cooper Rush is the quarterback. Then you've beaten the Steelers and Texans. With all due respect, you got 2 good wins on your schedule. That's it. You got 2 good wins. And they could have easily lost week 1 against the Lions, my God. Tell you right now, though, Brian, I'll keep saying it until I'm blue in the face. Dallas, San Francisco. Those are the two. I'm telling you. I think they're I think they can beat. I think both of those teams are capable of beating Philadelphia. And I'll tell you another thing about those teams. Both of their games travel well on the road. Both of those teams and the style of football they play will work on the road. So I'm going to stick to my guns on this. I still think that it's either Dallas or San Francisco that winds up representing the NFC in the Super Bowl this year. That is my prognostication. All right, I ran late here. We'll keep you up to date when we come back on the other side with the Astros and the Phillies. Runner on first for Philadelphia as we continue on the Cash In at SportsMap Radio. Okay. That might not be a bad idea. Huh? Whatever.
I can't get out of the complex. I have to take the other door. I can't take this door. I can't take the... Because I can't... I need to tappy tap to get out.
What's the matter with the fob?
If I take the key, then you can't come and get us.
There's 2 car keys, honey. Oh my God. Wow. I'm worried about you. Take too many shots to the head or something? Oh, Astros bullpen giving you a little bit, getting you nervous. Yeah. Oy vey. Don't tell me what happens because I'm behind you. Yeah, I'm behind you. I can't even look at I have to turn my FanDuel thing off because it's ahead of me too. Ruh-roh. Oh, it's getting mighty interesting in Philadelphia. That lockdown Astros bullpen making their fans sweat. First and second, 1 out for the Phillies, trailing 3-1. And boy, how big is that run in the top half of the 8th inning for Houston? They probably wish they got more, but getting that 1 run, huge. Gene Segura up at the plate with runners on first and second, and Montero's got to face it. Well, no, he doesn't have to face any more hitters. They have Presley up in the pen. I think Presley's up in the pen. Yeah, Presley's warming. I don't know if they can get him warmed fast enough right now. Do we got bases loaded, or did they get a run out of that? They got a run, so it's 3-2. Oh, wow. Boy, oh, boy. 3-2 now. Segura with a huge hit. The guy's had so many big hits in his career. Yeah. So 3-2 Houston now. Bottom of the eighth. Runners on first and third for Philadelphia. And Presley coming on to try to get the 5-out save, as you just heard Brian McDonald, our producer engineer on the show, just tell us. So we'll see what happens. Whew, this is the game. Let's see, if I start saying that, Belmer's going to hear it. He's going to get hurt. And then I'm not going to get 100% out of him. What'd you say? Oh, he's watching the Astros get more clear. It's like, I feel like Enzo cheating on the hairdresser in Seinfeld. You know, whose hair is this? You dead with scissor hands. It's a terrible haircut. He did have it coming. It was a terrible haircut. See, that's why I just shave it. I don't bick it, but I just buzz it with down to like a number 2 on top, 1 on the sides. It's real simple. I go to Sports Clips, and this is not a paid advertisement for them, by the way. But I go to Sports Clips. Boom. I'm in and out in like 15, 20 minutes. She buzzes it. Sometimes I'll stay a little longer, get the massaging chair and the little head. They do like a scalp massage. It's good stuff. It's not like a Deshaun Watson massage. Let me just be clear on that. Just saying. I'm just saying. We stay away from those sorts of things. 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. Tweet at us at the back page. By the way, the remainder of the Eagles' schedule, we were just talking about them. And again, all due respect, they're 9-0. 8-0. 8-0 with the win tonight. I said 9. They're 8-0 on the season. Great. One, I don't even want to hear it. And you could tell when it's a lazy day in sports radio, by the way, because I turned on, not sports radio, sports television, and you could tell they didn't have anything to talk about today. Because I turned on sports television, the first thing on Max Kellerman's show, this just in, was, what should the Eagles do about going undefeated? Would it be better if they lost a game? I'm like, dude, they have 7. They're 7-0. There's 12. There's 11 games left. Yes. Yeah. Yes. And interestingly, though, Rob Ninkovich and Samuel Acho, the former players that were on the show, basically said, yeah, they'd probably be better off losing because of the pressure, the questions that you're constantly having to face, that sort of thing. Whereas Dan Graziano, who was on the panel, was like, no, you're going out there to win the games. Now, obviously, I value their opinion a little more in that spot, being guys that are players, been in the locker room, know what it's like to sort of go through having to answer those kind of questions. But I think the fact that it was even being brought up when the team was 7-0 and still needed 11 more wins to have a perfect season at that point, it's just idiotic. It just doesn't make sense to me. Or they had 10 more wins they needed. Sorry, my math's not very good. So the rest of the Eagles' schedule looks like this. Commanders, Colts, Packers, Titans. And the only game of those that's on the road is the one against Indianapolis. So home for the Commanders, at Indy, home for the Packers, home for the Titans. Then they got a 3-game stretch where they go at the Giants, at the Bears, short week at the Cowboys. That's their 3-game road stretch. Then they're home for the Saints, home for the Giants. I mean, I think they could lose at the Giants, and I think they can lose at the Cowboys, to be honest. I wouldn't say easily. 3 losses. Yeah, I think it is. I haven't gone through the Vikings' entire schedule recently, but, I mean, they're obviously having a fantastic year. Vikings the rest of the way. Let's see, because that's the biggest threat to them, obviously, for top overall record in the conference. Vikings right now at 6-1 at the Commanders. Yeah, see, I mean, they're scheduled. They're going to lose a few games. They're at the Commanders, then at the Bills. They're going to lose at the Bills. Home for the Cowboys, home for the Patriots, home for the Jets. At the Lions, home for the Colts, home for the Giants, at the Packers, at the Bears. That's the remainder of the schedule for the Vikings. And who knows, by the time they get to the... I'm sticking to my guns on this, too. That by the time we get to the... that game against the Packers, second to last week of the season, Aaron Rodgers may not even be the starting quarterback. Not because of poor play, but because the team is so bad, they're just going to decide, hey, it's time to figure out what Jordan Love is. Wow, did Brandon Marsh strike out? Come on already. Make contact, fly ball. Yeah, we'll see what Schwarber can do. Astros lead the Phillies 3-2, bottom of the eighth. We're keeping tabs on it for you here on the Cash In on SportsMap Radio and the SportsMap Radio app. Right now, the money line plus 300 on the Phillies, even if Schwarber makes the final out, which obviously they don't want. But even if he should, you've got the heart of that order coming up in the bottom of the ninth against Presley, who's going to have to try and close it out with the second inning. And keep in mind, he pitched last night, too. So we'll see what happens. Stay with us. We're keeping an eye on postgame as well from the Texans and Eagles. We'll give you some of that when we get it as well. Lots more to do on the Cash In on SportsMap Radio. Oh, my God. He went down to a knee on that breaking ball. Talking to, what's his name last night? Are you clapping? Come on, man. The hell? Just ruining my experience here. Jesus Christmas. I don't even have to look. Know what happened there. If they lose this series, the Phillies can look at that inning. You got to get both runs across there. Terrible. Absolutely terrible. Awful. Awful, awful. No, I was talking to Well, I'll tell you, if the Phillies lose this World Series, they lose this game and then lose the World Series, this will be the game they look back at. They had first and third, one out, Marsh and then Schwarber. Marsh strikes out, Schwarber grounds out to first. I keep wanting to say Schwarma. Grounds out to first to end the inning. They only get one and trail 3-2 going to the ninth in Philadelphia, Game 5 of the World Series. If they don't win this game, I mean, look, they only have themselves to look at. They had every opportunity. Montero gave them a chance in that inning to at least tie the game and get this thing to the ninth tied. The live betting as it stands right now, the Phillies are plus 450. The Astros are minus 700. Those are the only bets available, at least on FanDuel in terms of the live betting. Phillies plus 450. That just went away. And the Astros minus 700. In the, let's see, who are they going to have coming up in the ninth? Look at the... There you go. Hoskins, Real Muto, and Harper. Wow. Look at you on time. Johnny on the spot. You really do. You really know. Just say it. You really do want the regular gig on this. You could say it. You could say it. You can cut Belmer's late break lines anytime now. It's okay, really. I know. You're gonna do it like a Tanya Harding. You're going to do a Tanya Harding, aren't you? Yeah, you're going to do a Tanya Harding, aren't you? Just club him in the knee. Why? Excuse me. I laughed so hard I almost choked. 1-800-224-2004. 800-224-2004. On Twitter, at the back page. Again, hit me up on Twitter, at the back page. Who do you think? I'm curious to hear from my NFL fans tonight. If not the Eagles in the NFC, then who? To me, it's got to be Dallas. Where are my Cowboy fans? On 97.1 The Freak. I would think that, like I said, Dallas and San Francisco. We're not on in San Francisco. But I would think Dallas and San Francisco would be the two favorites. I don't know a lot of people that really believe in Minnesota. Now, I do have to say, with that being said, they made a great move at the deadline to get TJ Hawkinson. And that guy's a tight end, and it was a position they sorely needed help at. I mean, they were like next to the bottom in the league in terms of yards per reception from tight ends and tight end productivity. They were near the bottom of the league. So they had to get some help in that department. And Hawkinson will obviously provide that for them. But I'm kind of interested to see, what Minnesota does the rest of the season, because I'm not a buyer in them. There were two teams I thought that I believed were frauds through the first 7-8 weeks of the season. The Jets were one. They got exposed last week. They're going to get their doors blown off this week, and then Minnesota, who I'm not a big believer in. I don't think they could. I don't think they're going to. Look, I think you just get there and you kind of roll the dice and see what happens. But they needed to go get a receiver at the deadline. They didn't do anything. And I think they know that they're probably still a year away. They'll never say that. But I think anybody who follows the NFL and really looks at the league closely knows that while they're good and they are improved, and even, at worst, they're a 4-3 team, but they've played pretty close to their record. They played terrible last week in Seattle. You had the two muffed punts, which obviously led to some scores for Seattle in that game, but they were right there on the road in a tough spot, traveling to the other side of the country. Tough place to win against a quarterback in Geno Smith, who's certainly having a comeback player of the year sort of year, but also a guy that will be in the conversation for MVP. I know Scott Seidenberg didn't necessarily agree with me on that, but you're talking about a team in the Giants. Saquon Barkley is back after basically doing nothing for a year and a half, and Daniel Jones is playing better football. look, they're going to have to make a decision at the end of this year as to whether or not he's the answer at that position. And I don't envy the Giants at all in having to figure out, okay, we know we're a good football team now, but is Daniel Jones the guy that gets us to that next level? And if I had to guess, the answer right now to them is probably no. But where are you going based on where they're positioned as far as the draft is concerned next year? Because they're probably going to be a playoff team next year, which means they're picking late teens, early 20s. And then you got to figure out what are you going to get that's better than Daniel Jones in that spot? What's out there via free agency that's going to make you any better? Now, I don't think Tom Brady's coming to play for the Giants next year. I do think he could wind up in San Francisco. And by the way, can I just say this? I giggled today when one of the headlines that came across my story aggregator that I look at before I do the show every day. I look at a bunch of different stories in preparation. And somebody was like, NFL analyst Albert Breer says Tom Brady, the best spot for him next year is San Francisco. With all due respect, I was saying that 9 days ago. I mean, let's try and play a little catch up here. I was saying it a while ago that Tom Brady to San Francisco makes a world of sense next year. And it does. I mean, that's the spot that makes the most sense for him if he's not going to be in Tampa Bay next year, and I don't think he will be. I think San Francisco is the spot. Maybe Las Vegas, because there is talent there as well, and he almost became a Las Vegas Raider once before, along with Rob Gronkowski. Rob Gronkowski is, I think I looked it up today, I think he's 32 or 33, and it doesn't look like he has any designs on coming back right now. I know Brady has reportedly asked him to come out of retirement. I don't think he's coming back. Because if he was going to come back to try and help Tom Brady, he probably would have already decided by now, because it's going to take him a couple of weeks just to get back into somewhat decent game shape. What's he going to come back? Play 7 plays a game? 10 plays a game? Doesn't make sense. It's not enough. He's not enough to turn it around. If they were a 4-3 team or a 5-3 team instead of 3-5, maybe he looks at it and says, "Okay, I could be a difference maker here." Rob Gronkowski's not going to turn them from a 3-5 team to suddenly a playoff contender. I know everybody's going to say they're one game behind Atlanta. We've already gone on the record on this show. Atlanta's going to win the NFC South. And all these clowns on ESPN and sycophants that are sucking up to Tom Brady just so maybe they can get to interview him one day if he decides to, do one-on-one interviews like that. John Gray. John Gray's the pitcher John Gray is the pitcher, isn't he? He still does pitch. No, now he pitches for the Rangers. Yeah. He pitches for the Rangers. Exactly. It's okay. It's all right. Jim Gray, who asked Pete Rose about betting on baseball on the field during some special all-star ceremony for him, and he was like, "What the? Really, dude?" That Jim Gray. It's been around a while. Yeah, that's his personal interviewer. He's like Ahmad was to Michael Jordan. It's like Ahmad Rashad was for Michael Jordan all those years. The only guy that could talk to, oh yeah. He still is like the only guy that could talk to Jordan. You still don't see a ton of one-on-one interviews with Michael Jordan. You don't see any. You see more one-on-one interviews with Tiger Woods than you do Michael Jordan. They just turned a double play there. Okay, so we're going to the bottom of the ninth. Strap on your seatbelts. High drama time. This has been the best game of the World Series so far. Right? One 800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. You could tweet at me as well at the back page. Again, hit me up on Twitter at the back page. I mentioned it earlier. I was still shocked. I had to go and look through the box score tonight. I still can't believe the Warriors are 3-6 out of the gate. And somebody wrote something the other day, and I don't know who it was, but somebody relatively prominent wrote that Steve Kerr should look at Steve Nash and say, look, no head coach is safe, so to speak. There's no way the Warriors would fire Steve Kerr. There's no way. There's a couple of coaches right now that could basically go take a dump at center court in their home court in front of a sold-out crowd, and they wouldn't get fired. He's one, and the guy in San Antonio. Greg Popovich. Sorry, my brains are mashed potatoes. Greg John Gray, yes. But yeah, Greg Popovich and Steve Kerr is close to untouchable right now. Warriors aren't firing Steve Kerr. I mean, the guy is still one of the best head coaches in the game. But somebody did bring up an interesting point today regarding the Warriors. I was listening to a sports talk station in the Bay Area. And a few years back when Kevin Durant was playing for the Warriors, he was asked the question, are you going to opt out? Remember when there was that whole thing about whether or not Durant would stay or opt out of his deal with the Warriors? And he kind of left everybody hanging throughout the entire season. And you know who called him out? Draymond Green. Now, why is that interesting? Because Draymond Green right now is in the same exact situation. He can opt out at the end of the year. And to my recollection, nobody has asked Draymond Green whether or not he plans to opt out. Nobody's put him on the spot, and somebody should. Now, imagine he's not going to like the question very much. And I'm imagining there's going to be some sort of word salad that serves as an explanation for why he's not deciding now when he called out Kevin Durant for exactly the same thing that he's doing right now and not saying whether or not he's coming back at the end of the season. He said it would be a great distraction, that Durant hasn't said anything. It's putting the team in a difficult position. Well, Draymond Green, are you coming back next year or not? Are you opting in or not? Are you retiring at the end of the year or not? What are you doing? I think all those things are possible, by the way. I think there's a chance he retires at the end of the season. With all the rings, not wanting to go what does he need to go and hang on somewhere for another ring? It's not like he's a Kevin Durant or a LeBron James or a Shaquille O'Neal type. These guys that go somewhere else to try and get another ring because they could be that big of a difference maker. If Draymond Green goes to the Knicks next year, they're not winning a title because Draymond Green is there. If he goes, no, absolutely, 100%, yes. He's got nothing. He's got nothing to hang on for. So if there's a guy that I could see saying, hey, you know what, end of the year, I'm done, it would probably be Draymond Green. And maybe he just doesn't want to announce that because he doesn't want all the pomp and circumstance that comes with that throughout the entire season. Every game, his last time playing in Dallas, his last time playing at Madison Square Garden. Oh, look, here's a golden toilet seat from the Garden restroom for Draymond Green, blah, blah, blah. I don't think he wants that. Believe it or not, I don't think he wants that. So maybe that's the reason he hasn't announced his intentions, because the intention is he's hanging it up at the end of the year. He's made more than enough money. His place in history with that team is cemented. Now, is he a Hall of Famer is a different kind of question. And I'm not going to dig into that tonight because we'd need a lot more time than we have. I don't think he is. I think he's a really good player. But he's not a Hall of Famer. I think he's an important part of what that team has done, but he's not a Hall of Famer. I know everybody likes to pretend he is, but by the numbers, and I know people are going to say the intangibles and the other things, he's not a Hall of Famer. He's just not. All right, we'll let you know what happens with the Astros and the Phillies. They are in the ninth inning. Hoskins, Real Muto, and Bryce Harper to go up against Ryan Presley in that ninth inning. We'll see if it's over by the time we come back to wrap up this hour of the Cash In on SportsMap Radio. And don't you dare spoil it. Turn your mic off. Fade you. Fade you. Flunk me, flunk you. High fastballs. Can't hit them. Can't lay off them. Name of the movie? No. League of Their Own. High fastballs. Can't hit them. Can't lay off them. No. I just can't. The problem with me is I've only got so much bandwidth for TV outside of sports. So for me, it's Walking Dead. It's Walking Dead. It's Bill Maher. It's John Oliver. That's pretty much the extent of it. What are you gonna say, Bill Maher and John Oliver? You watch Walking Dead? Oh gosh. I can't talk about it with you. I am very current. And I do cheat and watch the abridged versions of Raw by speeding through on my DVR. Yeah. I didn't watch this week though. Yeah. I saw Double J take a shot at what's his name with the guitar last night though. Or did you not see that yet? Did I spoil it? Go! Get out! Oh, come on. Are you kidding? Oh. Wow. JT Realmuto robbed at the wall by, was that Kyle Tucker or Chad McCormick? Chaz McCormick, sorry. It's all right. His own family doesn't know his name. It's no big deal. Chaz McCormick just robbed JT Realmuto of extra bases at the wall with one out in the bottom of the ninth. So now there are 2 outs with Harper coming up. Oh, that's just killer. Just take all the air out of that ballpark with that play. I'm surprised that didn't carry more. Looked like he put good lumber on it. Ugh. So here we are. Bottom of the ninth. Bryce Harper at the plate against Presley in a 3-2 game. We'll keep you posted on what happens there. I promise next hour we'll hear some post-game sound from the Thursday night football game, the Eagles 29-17 winners over the Houston Texans. We'll see what everybody had to say after that thing is done. But, man, Game 5 of the World Series has been everything the first 4 games wasn't. It has been as good as you could possibly hope for. Drama, clutch hitting, some great defensive plays. We're back for another hour of the cash-in. I'll either be in a really good mood or a really bad mood. Stay with us. Lots more to do on SportsMap Radio. Taking my headphones off for a second. Be right back. Got hit? He plunked him in the foot. Yes. Ugh. Ugh. God. Castellanos put up a hell of a fight. He threw him a 3-2 breaking ball. You know? Oh, it would have been strike 3 anyway, though. That was a good pitch. Sure. But he threw a 3-2 breaking ball. It wasn't a great breaking ball, but I think Castellanos was probably sitting fastball. And you can't be sitting anything in that spot, but it almost felt like he was with the kind of swing that he put on the breaking ball. Wow. What a game. It was a great game. Final hour of a Thursday/Friday edition of the show. My final show of the week. Programming note, I will be off tomorrow. Alternate programming in my place. Don't worry, we'll be back on Monday. I'm not going to do Paige's picks tonight because I don't have all the data. And I refuse to do a pick segment that some people might actually take seriously. When I don't have all the information. I will do Paige's picks. Look for them on social media. Follow me on Twitter at The Back Page, and you'll see it there. What a Game 5 of the World Series. No matter who you're rooting for, you just want to see, more than anything, you want competitive, compelling games. This was a competitive, compelling game. Well, Game 1. That's not all the way true, though. First game, it's 5-5 for most of the game. And then, the Phillies win. Yeah. No, certainly hasn't been. And congratulations to the Houston Astros. They're one win away from a World Series that dramatically changes the narrative for this organization in a lot of ways. And, if there's one interesting thing that comes out of all of this when all is said and done, it will be how that narrative changes for the Astros if we get to, when we get to the end of this thing. Either it's going to be sort of that they are the Braves of this generation with all these trips to the World Series and only one World Series win that some people would consider tainted. Whether that's fair or not, that will be the opinion of some. Or their second World Series in this, sort of cluster of years that makes you look at them in a much different light. And I got news for you. They're going to be in this position for years to come because they're really good. We're back with more of the Cash In on SportsMap Radio. Stay here. Post game. Am I talking to you? You're either talking to him or you're talking to me. Yeah. We're taking the armoire. Which one? What are you talking about? The gay guys? It's not FDR. That's you're not talking about those.
Afternoon. No, and I got hot kind of early, so.
Tell right when you see safeties have a lot of tackles.
Right.
I thought their defense did a really nice job. They did some things.
Sure.
Right, but I'm not surprised that he played. But I'm actually happy that we're going to enjoy watching 23 out.
Keep it classy. That was salad, actually. I'm drinking a lot of soda during the show, though. Oh, I got all sorts of issues. All right, in this final hour, you will hear from Eagles head coach Nick Sirianni. Post-game sound with him here on the Cash In on SportsMap Radio. We got you covered. After 29-17 Eagles win over the Texans in Thursday Night Football. Top story of the day, obviously what's going on with Kyrie Irving. Suspended at least 5 games by the Brooklyn Nets a week after promoting an anti-Semitic movie on social media. And again today with an opportunity to apologize. He's now had 2 press conferences since the social media posting promoting this this book/movie that's on Amazon, and both times he refused to apologize. And Adrian Wojnarowski, who does a great job over at ESPN, kind of said that the Nets at this point feel like they just can't get through to Kyrie Irving.
Joe Tsai, their owner, thought that he could educate Kyrie Irving on the impact that this entire saga had on people, and just ultimately felt like they did not reach him. And now, finally, after a week, there's a punishment. 5 games without pay, minimally, for Kyrie Irving.
And what does it all mean for his future in Brooklyn?
He's going to have to remedy this situation. And I think right now, his future in Brooklyn I think it's fair to say is unclear because he has shown so far a resolve, a resistance to not apologize and to not denounce what is in that movie.
I have to say this, and I referenced this earlier in the show, but there's always new people tuning in. If he hasn't apologized by now, he's not going to. So the Nets have to make a decision. They're not going to be able, I don't think they're going to be able to suspend him without pay indefinitely. I think eventually the Players Association is going to step in and say, okay, you got to do something. Maybe the two sides, maybe there's a buyout of some kind, and he'll take his chances and see if somebody else wants to sign him. And that's where I think the next sort of shoe drops in this story. I don't think it's a question of whether he apologizes or not. He's made it clear he isn't going to. And even if he did at this point, would you believe him? I wouldn't. So, and I don't think he cares if any of us believe him. I think he wants to sort of move on from it. He doesn't think it's as big a deal as other people do, especially those in the Jewish community, folks at the Anti-Defamation League, and so on. I don't think he thinks it's as big a deal as they think it is. So I don't think he's going to apologize. I think he's going to force the Nets' hand into moving him. And then at that point, you have to start wondering if they just blow the whole thing up in Brooklyn. Because if Kyrie's gone, and now it's just Kevin Durant with a bunch of guys around him, one of them being Ben Simmons, who's no longer the same Ben Simmons that he was a few years ago, at this point, you might as well just blow the whole thing up and admit failure if you're the Nets. Be as bad as you can be. Suck for, Wabamyana or whoever, or Scoot Henderson. Maybe you just go as bad as you can. Just blow the whole thing up. And at that point, I don't even know why Ime Udoka would want the job even if they offered it to him, which they shouldn't, because he shouldn't be getting an opportunity and rewarded for his bad behavior in Boston. Another topic altogether. But I'd be surprised if Kyrie Irving played another game in Brooklyn. Based on everything we've seen over the last, 6 days now? I'd be thoroughly surprised if he played another game in Brooklyn. It's amazing he played another 2 games in Brooklyn after this whole thing happened. But maybe the Nets didn't realize how big a story it was going to be either. But the news is Kyrie Irving out for at least 5 games. And again, for a Nets team that's already off to a really sluggish start and has not been playing inspiring basketball. And I think it's kind of interesting because, a day or two ago, the story was Ime Udoka is going to be the next head coach. And now that I haven't heard much about that conversation in the last 24 hours. Maybe it's because the Celtics want compensation for him, which is the reason they didn't fire him, because if a team wants him, at least they can get something for him. Or maybe Udoka's having second thoughts about even wanting the job at this point. I don't know. I don't think anybody knows, because the Celtics have been about as hush-hush on this whole thing as you could be. And I'm surprised more hasn't sort of leaked out from that organization, but it's been fairly quiet. So that's story 1 of the day. Story 1A has to be the Astros getting a win in Game 5 tonight. They take Games 4 and 5 to take a 3-2 series lead, going back to Houston for Game 6, where it'll be Framber Valdez against Zach Wheeler. Valdez, like just about every starter on the Astros, has been good. And look, let's just say, Justin Verlander wasn't outstanding tonight, but he got you through 5 innings. Gave your team a chance to win. Got it into that bullpen's hands, got out of there with a lead on a night where he had to battle, where he gave up a home run right out of the gate from Kyle Schwarber. And he was able to tough it out through 5 innings. No. Yep, he did. He absolutely did. And if that's his final start, I wonder if they would. Now, look, if this thing gets to like a game 6 or 7, well, obviously a game 6, but if it got to a 7th game, if it's an all hands on deck situation, given what he's gone through with the Tommy John and all that stuff, I wonder if they would even use him, for an inning in that spot. And then the next question becomes, and boy, Verlander needed this start. When you start talking about legacies, it's his first World Series win. He needed this. As much as people want to talk about what he's done throughout his career and the Cy Young Awards and the no-hitters, World Series ring, all that's great. But the fact that he did, the one thing missing from his resume was a win in a World Series game, and he got one tonight. That is huge for him. And all the credit in the world to him for being able to get that together tonight. And, for those who are wondering, hey, is this the end of the line for him? He's 39. He's got 200. Well, here's the thing. He's got 244 career wins. And there are people that believe that 300 matters to him. Yeah. And I'll tell you, if he gets 300, he might be the last. I would think he's, yeah. I don't think Max is going to pitch that long. Isn't that amazing? It absolutely blows your mind, but we may not see another. Verlander's at 244. Greinke's at 223. Scherzer's at 201. There's no way. Scherzer's not getting there. He's 37 years old. Yeah, and I don't think he is. And he'd have to pitch till he's 45. And Kershaw's got 197 wins at 34. And he throws 5 innings a game. I don't know. Maybe throwing 5 innings a game, he could. I mean, that's it. There won't be anybody else. I mean, Garrett Cole's 30. No, Garrett Cole's not getting there. He's 31, 130 wins. I'm just looking for somebody who might be off to a really good start. No. There's nobody even that's going to sniff it after Verlander. Like this is it. This is the end. Wow. I didn't realize it was this dire. as it relates to the 300. Yeah, I know. I'm not completely, removed. No, I know. No, I wouldn't want to live 1,000 lifetimes. I barely want to live the one I'm in right now. Yep. Nope. I'm good. 1-800-224-2004. 800-224-2004. Hit me up on Twitter at the back page. But yeah, that's it. The 300 game winner's gone. We could probably do the same conversation for like 500 home runs. If you talk about career, active leaders for home runs, we could probably have that conversation as well. But what I want to do is I want to let you hear from Nick Sirianni, head coach of the 8-0 Philadelphia Eagles. We'll do that coming back on the other side. More post-game reaction to the Eagles' 29-17 win over the Houston Texans. Any of your calls on either the World Series, the Thursday Night Football, or the Kyrie Irving story at 800-224-2004, and on Twitter there at the back page. Stay with us. More to do on the Cash In. It's SportsMap Radio. Uh-huh. Ba-na-na-na-na. I don't know. I'm open to suggestions, though. Yeah, because I'm a little unsure as to what else to put in. Ba-doom, boom, boom, ba-boom, boom, 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 ba-doom, boom, boom, ba-boom. 27 minutes past the hour. The Cash In, SportsMap Radio, SportsMap Radio app. Nick Sirianni met with the media a short time ago after an Eagles win 29-17 over the Houston Texans. Obviously in good spirits. Here's what he had to say. Let's take a listen.
Nick, there's been a lot of talk this offseason about Jalen's improvement. Today was the first time real game. Not looking at the tape, what are some areas maybe you saw where you feel this time?
Yeah, shoot. I thought he was in complete control of checking the plays, getting to different things, knowing what the defense was doing. Did it work every time we checked to a play? No, but that's on us as coaches. Like we're telling them to get to something versus a certain look, and if it doesn't work, but he had complete control of what was going on out there today. He saw the field perfectly. He really did, and I'm really talking more about you're doing this, we'll do that. You know what I mean? And he's going to have plays that he wants back, and we're going to have calls that we want back. But I thought he played a really outstanding game.
How big were his legs today?
Man, really big, really big. And then, you know, and obviously we got that big roughing or what do you call it? Unnecessary roughness. But that turns into frustration, right? When he keeps getting out and go and boom, and it turned into a big play that ended up being a scoring drive for us. And And so his legs were huge. What an unbelievable thing to be able to have as a coach. Oh, we called that. Didn't work. He made it right.
AJ was talking about just the noise, how difficult was the environment, so he couldn't hear it all.
Yeah, it was loud. Yeah, and you know what? The Lions, the people of Detroit, they came out for this game, and we obviously knew it was going to be like that. We practiced. We knew about the sellout, and we knew it was going to be like that. We practiced the crowd noise. I'll see if I can get the equipment guys to turn it up even louder. But it was rocking in there, and that's what you want. I mean, that's pretty. I mean, obviously you don't want that as a visiting team, but everybody wants that as to play in front of the entire world and play in front of a rocking crowd like that on the road, and to be able to come out with a victory is big.
So as a coach,
Go ahead.
As a coach, is that something good? You get the win, but you have some teachable moments. So you had a couple delayed games.
Yeah, gosh, those pre-snap penalties, we count those differently than we count anything else. That's something that those will go on the board by themselves. Like, here's the pre-snap penalties because you're in control of those, and it's coaches, starting with coaches. Having not communicating well enough on the 12 men in the huddle, or getting the play in a little bit late. And that's not on Shane, or it might be on me saying, hey Shane, get to this, and so that happens, and we got to be better as coaches on that. But we'll clean that up, and it's always better to be able to clean it up, obviously, after a win, and it feels like you can even be a little bit harder after a win, and to make sure that those don't happen again. And so pre-snap penalties are detrimental, and we'll try to cut as many of those as we can out.
Nick Sirianni makes a great point there in his post-game comments to the media, and we just gave you a little snippet of it. It's so much better to have teachable moments in losses, and that's essentially what you had tonight. They didn't play a perfect game by any stretch. They're better than they were tonight against that Texans team. And again, some guys are looking at the records before you can't help it. It's human nature for guys to look at the record of the opposing team and see that you're a 14 or a 14.5 point favorite. Eagles didn't cover, by the way. I'd be curious to know what their number against the spread is for the season. I haven't looked it up, but I'd be curious to see what it is. But the thoughts of Nick Sirianni here in the post game after a victory tonight, and an impressive one at that, 29-17. You win on the road. You avoid the letdown game, and this team is 8-0 on the season. Let's see what Jalen Hurts had to say in the post game.
Thank you, sir. Well, I think it was a hard-fought victory. And I think what I love the most about this team, just coming out here week one, playing against a new opponent, seeing a new face, how resilient we were. We talked about, not riding waves of the game, being able to control what we can, and there were times where the execution wasn't as we like it to be on both sides of the ball. But I think in the end, what made the difference was we were resilient. We played together through the good, through the bad, and the ugly. And we had each other's backs. And it's always good to get a win. They had a great football team. It's clearly not the same football team we played last year. They were flying to the ball. They played very physical. They played with a next play mentality. So I have a lot of respect for them and Coach Campbell and Deuce over there.
You picked up a lot of yards, scrambles, maybe some of their blessing you guys a lot. What did you see defensively that allowed you to do that?
It just kind of happened that way earlier in the game. I really can't tell you why. I have to watch the film, but it just kind of happened that way. So.
What was it like communicating out there? Seeing if AJ was talking, couldn't hear anything?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think for us, we walk away from this game and we talk about a standard for ourselves, and the standard it only rises. You know what I'm saying? And we know we didn't play to the standard that we wanted to play to consistently all this afternoon. We know we didn't meet our standard, but it's a great feeling knowing you didn't meet the standard, but you still were resilient enough had enough dog in you to find a way to win. So in terms of the conditions, it was very loud, very smallest stadium, low roof, kind of jam-packed in there, and those fans were out there. They were loud out there, but we were able to overcome.
I got to tell you, I love every time I watch Jalen Hurts in one of these post-game press conferences or in these interviews he does, I come away so impressed with him. Again, irregardless of what I think about how far the Eagles are going, whether I think they're for real, whether they can win a Super Bowl, all of that stuff. And look, they are as capable of coming out of the NFC as anybody. I just tend to look at Super Bowl caliber defenses when we get to the postseason. And to me, I look at Dallas, I look at San Francisco, and I think those are the two best defenses in the NFC. And combined with what they were able to do offensively, guys who have been in that position a lot, in Jimmy G and in Dak Prescott, I have more confidence in those two teams to wind up in the Super Bowl representing the NFC than I do Jalen Hurts. With all of that being said, though, every time I watch Jalen Hurts talk after a game, can't tell if he you can't tell if he won or if he lost. All you hear is about how he wants to get better. And I don't say this to put down Lamar Jackson or Kyler Murray, but I watch those two guys who are sort of in that same area in terms of young, athletic, talented quarterbacks. But I don't hear the same things from them that I hear from Jalen Hurts. I don't get the same feeling coming from those guys. I mean, Mahomes and Josh Allen, they're at a whole different level. They're playing, they're cheat codes. And Jalen Hurts just strikes me as an overachiever. And I want that guy every day on my team. Give me the overachiever. The guy who's going to stay extra time and watch extra video. Make some extra throws. That's what Jalen Hurts is. He is the epitome of an overachiever. And I'm rooting for him. I really am. 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. You can tweet at the show at the back page. The Kyrie Irving story was one big one in the NBA today. We haven't even talked about the other, involving another team from Texas. This one being the San Antonio Spurs. That's next on the Cash In. It's SportsMap Radio. Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's do that. Sure. I like it. Yeah, do that. It's fine. I want to talk to the guy who handles the digital strategy. I want to see if he'll give me access to the podcasting platform, because I've uploaded podcasts to Audio Boom before, which is what I assume you guys use, right? Yeah, I want to talk to him and see if he'll let me do some stuff on my own too. Because there might be some extra stuff that I want to put up, not from the show, but like extra interviews I do on the side. Or like, let's say I pre-tape an interview. I could do a 30-minute interview on the show and say, hey, if you want to hear the whole thing, go to the podcast. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Yeah, and I'm sure I could probably get him to give me one, because I used to use Audio Boom. Yeah. Yeah. That's fine.
Start the game off, you want to have a winner, you want to play well. We had opportunities. We talk a lot about finishing. We didn't finish the way we would like. Start the game off, you.
Bum, bum, bum. We continue on this Thursday/Friday edition of the show. We'll hear from Lovie Smith in a couple minutes. We usually give you the losing head coach instead of the winning head coach, but the headline is the Eagles right now at 8-0. But I do want to give some time to Lovie Smith because Texans played hard time. And honestly, they haven't rolled over really at all this year. So, kudos to him for getting that team to play, especially tonight without Brandon Cooks. We didn't even talk about that story. He was deactivated for the game. Sounds like a computer component. He was deactivated. They just unplugged him. But, he didn't even... They made somebody else the captain, which makes you believe we probably have seen the last of Brandon Cooks in a Texans uniform at this point. Yeah. No, he was very unhappy. Him and Kareem Hunt were the guys that wanted to be moved the most prior to the deadline. I think in the case of Hunt, it's a little easier to take it because he is still a part of that team. And, as remote as it is, they still have some shot at potentially, getting into the postseason. So, Kareem Hunt probably going to play the good soldier, so to speak, more so than what Brandon Cook said after he didn't get traded, which was essentially, I know where all the bodies are buried. I'm done covering for you guys. Sure, why not? Hey, have you tried Jock MKT yet? Brian McDonald, our producer engineer, has. See, he has. They offer live daily markets for sports that let you buy and sell shares of athletes in real time with other users, all for real money. How many shares of Jeremy Pena did you have tonight, Brian? Two of Bregman. How much was Bregman? All right. Yeah, that one was definitely a bust. You bought a lemon there. Each share, by the way, has a guaranteed payout at the end of the night. I don't know how much Brian's will be, but you do get a guaranteed payout on your player at the end of the night. Bid on shares before the games in the IPO phase. Trade shares live while the games are happening. All shares with a guaranteed payout. Currently live in 36 states with more to come for the NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, PGA, and NASCAR. Head over to the Jock MKT app or go to jockmkt.com and deposit with my promo code CASHIN, CASHIN, all one word, to receive a 100% deposit match up to $100. So if you put in 100, you're getting another 100. Boom, just like that. And your first market will also be risk-free with losses refunded up to $100. Head over to the Jock MKT app or go to jockmkt.com and deposit with my promo code CASHIN, again, for that 100% deposit match up to $100. Jock MKT. Here on the Cash In. 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004, and on Twitter at the back page. Here is Lovie Smith post-game after the Texans fall to the Eagles 29-17.
Start the game off, you want to have a winner, you want to play well. We had opportunities. We talk a lot about finishing. We didn't finish the way we would like. A lead, 20-3 lead. At home, you would like to think that you could finish that off. But we didn't. Some good things we did early on to get 20 points. Offensively, O.J. Howard coming in, making an impact right away the way he did. but never really got the running game going completely. So the passing game can help an awful lot. Passing the ball, though, and I thought the big sack there where we had the turnover, I think we were +2 at the time, turnover ratio-wise, that really kind of gave them momentum going the other direction.
So I'm curious, what would
So there you go. A little
bit.
bit from Lovie Smith in terms of what went on for them tonight in this 29-17 loss on the rather at home against the Philadelphia Eagles. Texans right now, if you're them, you're just thinking about where could we wind up in the draft? You know, how good is it? How good's it going to get for them as far as being able to get one of those top 3 picks and one of those 3 quarterbacks that are out there potentially that could be franchise-changing quarterbacks? But we'll have to wait and see. We didn't talk at all about the other big story in the NBA today because we've been talking about the Kyrie Irving thing and obviously the World Series and then, of course, the Thursday night football game. But, you know, an organization that has run itself the way the San Antonio Spurs have, that runs it in a classy way and handles themselves with a lot of integrity. Well, that's going to come under a lot of scrutiny right now because today, being Thursday, a former clinical psychologist for the organization filed a lawsuit alleging that the team ignored her repeated reports of indecent exposure by Joshua Primo, who was recently released by the team. He was a 2021 lottery pick who was released last week. According to the lawsuit, Primo exposed himself to Dr. Hillary Cauthen a total of 9 times. First incident allegedly occurred during a psychological session with Primo in December 2021 and was reported to Spurs management in January 2022. That is very problematic for the Spurs. Again, this is an organization that I think a lot of people have a lot of respect for. They're kind of held up as one of the gold standards around the league. You know, Becky Hammon on the staff was, you know, at one point a potential NBA head coaching candidate and, you know, was an assistant to Greg Popovich. She won a summer league title with the team. I mean, she's somebody that sort of was held up as a shining example of how the Spurs handle themselves. But when you see a story like this, and you don't know where it's going, you don't know who knows what. I mean, does this get to Greg Popovich? And did Pop not do anything about it? Who knows? We don't know. Pure speculation at this point because the Spurs aren't saying much. But this lawsuit alleges that rather than act on Dr. Cauthen's reports, the Spurs ignored her complaints, hoping the organization could ignore and then cover up Primo's actions. The lawsuit states the Spurs organization was willing to sacrifice Dr. Cauthen to keep what they hoped would one day be a star player. Once Primo's conduct entered the public sphere, the Spurs were forced to act and release Primo, the lawsuit says. The Spurs' recent actions with regard to Primo are too little too late. The Spurs' public statement about Primo's departure is a complete farce. The Spurs' conduct sends a strong message that they, like other major sports organizations, are willing to tolerate aberrant conduct on the part of athletes and sacrifice loyal employees so long as the athlete is successful on the court. Primo's attorney denied any wrongdoing, said that the psychologist is playing to ugly stereotypes and racially charged fears for her own financial benefit, called it an act of betrayal against a client. So you've got 2 sides of the story out there. Well, you got one side of the story out there and you have one defense. And the one thing missing right now is what the Spurs are not saying. You've got this team psychologist who's 40 years old, Joshua Primo, who's basically half her age, says he didn't expose himself to her during the course of their numerous therapy sessions. Says the allegations are a complete fabrication, a gross embellishment of utter fantasy. Josh Primo never intentionally exposed... Oh, there's the word. You hear that word, Brian? Joshua Primo never intentionally exposed himself to her or anyone else. And I don't know, maybe you're adjusting yourself. I don't know. Joshua Primo never intentionally exposed himself to her or anyone else and was not even aware that his private parts were... Wow, we're going private parts. That is... Stop laughing. I know. It's, I get it. I would almost rather that the lawsuit say junk. That to me would actually be funny. Yeah. Private parts is just... Oh, my God. Josh Primo never intentionally exposed himself to her or anyone else and was not even aware that his private parts were visible outside of his workout shorts. What makes the allegations even less credible, the attorney for Josh Primo says, what makes the allegations even less credible is that Dr. Cawthon never informed her patient of the purported exposure. Dr. Cawthon was Mr. Primo's mental health support provider and confidant, a therapist who Mr. Primo trusted. She is much older than Mr. Primo. Wow, they went much older. Jeez. With many years of experience as a sports psychologist, it is baffling why she did not bother to tell her patient that his private parts were visible underneath his shorts. Okay, so now I'm kind of envisioning what this is, right? I mean, it's not like what's the name of the movie? Basic Instinct, right? Remember in Basic Instinct when Sharon Stone kind of opens up her, when she uncrosses her legs? Yeah. I wonder if this was a situation where he was just, for lack of a better word, freeballing it. And which I think we can say on the radio. We're in safe harbor. I think we're clear. We're okay. But I almost wonder if it was that sort of situation. But 9 times? 9 times. 9 times? Yeah, I was kind of interested in what his attorney had to say until we got to the part where he said never intentionally exposed himself. So you're basically saying, okay, he exposed himself, but he didn't mean to do it. Right? I mean, that's essentially what he's saying. I think 9 times. R.C. Buford is the Spurs CEO, said the franchise disagrees with the accuracy of facts, details, and timeline presented. While we would like to share more information, we're not going to. We will allow the legal process to play out, Buford said, adding the Spurs remain, quote, committed to upholding the highest standards and will continue to live by our values and culture. Yeah, it's going to be ugly. See, I always like to operate under the philosophy that there's one side, there's another side, and usually the truth is somewhere in the middle in these stories, and also that some of these things can come down to interpretation. And it sounds like in this case, just from the early facts that we have, she thinks he was, doing stuff with his junk in front of her, and he thinks it was, sort of unbeknownst to him that it was happening. Again, I don't buy any of that, but yeah, I would say as a victim of sexual assault myself at a very young age, I will always take the side of the victim. Where I think the story gets more interesting, this woman's case is probably very valid, but where this thing gets interesting is what did the Spurs know, when did they know it, and how long did they hang on to Joshua Primo knowing that these things were allegedly happening? That's where it gets a little more interesting. Well, obviously, we'll see what happens in the coming days and weeks as this thing winds up in the courts, where everything these days winds up in the courts. We'll come back and wrap up this edition of The Cash In on SportsMap Radio. Might have to add that to the podcast. That whole segment on just the part on the Primo stuff was actually pretty good. But I mean, you know what I think? Again, I can't say this on the getting set to say goodbye for this week. Again, a note, we are off on Friday. No cash in on Friday, alternate programming in our place. We will return on Monday. If you're in the Phoenix area, I'll be bowling in a tournament for a couple of days out there in Tempe and Mesa, right down the street from Phoenix. Be staying in Phoenix for a couple of days. Hit me up on Twitter at the back page. Maybe I'll see you all out there. I'm going to try not to hurt myself. I got to bowl 9 games. I don't know, Brian McDonald. It would probably be my left knee. I wear a wrist brace. That should help. Left knee minus 150 is probably a good bet. Yeah. Yeah, left knee will be minus 150. I'll get back Sunday night. Here's the question. When I get back Sunday night to the greater Palm Springs area, will the World Series be over? Oh, God, I hope you're wrong. I was thinking about going to a Suns game Friday night in Phoenix because they're home. I think they play the Blazers on Friday night. So I was thinking of going to a Suns game on Friday night, but I haven't decided yet. I've been to Phoenix a couple of times. I actually like it there. Hoping to be there for the Super Bowl this year, too. Craig Larson, are you listening? Make that happen, boss man. Oh, did I just call out the boss on the air? Yeah, I did. I'd do it. Do it again, too. Brian McDonald, nice work, sir. Have a great weekend. We will be back with you on Monday. Alternate programming tomorrow. Thanks for listening all week. I'm Jason Page, and this was The Cash In on SportsMap Radio. Bye! You got the podcast stuff, and I'll talk to you, my man. Nice work again tonight. Okay, cool. Thanks, man. Be well. All right, bye-bye. By the way, Kyrie apologized tonight, about an hour ago. Yep, Kyrie apologized about an hour ago. I just found out about it. And I read the apology just now. Interesting, to say the least. I just don't know how to read this guy anymore. I really don't. I don't think he's an anti-Semite. I've never thought that. I just think he's uninformed. You've never heard me say that I think he's an anti-Semite. But I do think he's incredibly uninformed. And I don't want to say uneducated. The guy went to Duke. Not that makes you necessarily educated. Some people just coast through school and do what they need to do. But I think the 5-game suspension probably put the fear of God in him, because I mean, if he flunks out of the league essentially now, he knows he's never getting another opportunity. So I think he had an bleep moment basically, where he knew he had to do something. Anyway, that's going to do it for us. We're all done on the cash-in. Done for this week. I will put up a video posting for Page's Picks this weekend. Headed off to Phoenix tomorrow for a bowling tournament for the next few days, but we'll be back on Monday at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. And until then, I'm Jason Page. I'll see you guys.